I'm Oli. I'm from the business development team at NationBuilder. I recognize many, but not all of your names on here. So nice to see lots of your names. I can't see your faces, unfortunately, in this webinar mode. Many of you may know, but Ryan is from Van City Studios, who are a NationBuilder partner of almost 10 years now, heralding from Van City, Vancouver. Ryan is actually in Mexico today. I'm in London, so we've got a very international affair. And Van City Studios are a full-service NationBuilder certified digital agency, do a lot of work in terms of excelling to help clients to craft and execute their digital strategies, building beautiful websites, some of really, really beautiful action-oriented websites that come from Van City, and more specifically, as per today, building out some really interesting solutions via the API, such as the NBMetrics solution that we're going to be seeing today. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Ryan, who can say a little bit more about himself and NBMetrics itself.
Great. Thanks so much, Oli. Thanks for that intro. As Oli mentioned, I'm Ryan from Van City Studios. Van City Studios, we are a NationBuilder agency that specializes working with the people and organizations that protect the planet and make the world a better place to live. We've been working with the NationBuilder platform for about the last 10 years. And today I'm here to chat with you about a new tool we recently developed called NBMetrics, which is a new tool. It's a new fundraising reporting and analytics tool. So I think the best way to really show you what it's all about is just to dive right in. And there we go. So hopefully everyone can see the screen that I just shared in front of them. Perfect. So this is our Sandbox Nation and the Finances tab in the control panel. Hopefully this is something that everyone on the call is at least a little bit familiar with. It's where all of your financial information that's processed through NationBuilder is recorded. And as we can see, there's a lot of data in the finances section, but we've just found that there's not really a ton of information here that's easily accessible, especially actionable information. So what we've done with NBMetrics, which you can check out by going to NBMetrics.com, is we tried to create a solution that easily unlocks actionable metrics and empowers you to make data-driven decisions to maximize your fundraising and impact of your organization. So you can go to NBMetrics.com to read a little bit about it. You can sign up. I'll mention right out of the gates that we do have a free 1-month trial that you can sign up for using the code NBWebinar, which is right up here. And I'm going to give you a little tour of what NBMetrics is all about. So once you sign up, it'll prompt you to enter your nation slug, and after that, create a password for your account. And after that, you'd be able to sign in. And after you connect your nation, within about 48 hours, your first report is ready. And essentially, NBMetrics gives you access to several dashboards and reporting dashboards, as we see here, that I'm going to walk you through. This data is updated on a daily basis, automatically pulled from your nation once you get it connected. So all this data is in close to real time. And the first dashboard that we see here is your main fundraising dashboard. And right out of the gate, we can see that we take this data that's available in your finances tab about all of your fundraising and start immediately turning it into actionable metrics that really helps you sort of analyze and understand what's going on with your fundraising. So off the top here, we can see that the period for this report is all of this year so far. And we can see some key metrics up at the top, including the total that we fundraised. And the total, we've got some comparison analytics data right below here as well. So we're down 78% compared to all of last year. So, even just looking at this first metric here, we're unlocking a lot of interesting information from our finances data. I'm going to jump below to this next one here. We've got a graph of donations over time for this year and the previous year. This year being the darker blue line, and the last year, month by month, being the lighter blue line here. And we can see last year, we had a big fundraising spike near the end of the year, which is common for a lot of nonprofit organizations, a lot of political campaigns, etc. So the fact that we're down 78% so far compared to all of last year, it's maybe not surprising because maybe we're expecting another spike at the end of this year. We can, however, adjust our time frame here. By default, it's looking at the entire year this year. And if we want to adjust this to just look at this year to date so far, we can see, okay, from January until September 2025, compared to last year, we're still down quite a bit. This is all sample data pulling, from our Sandbox Nation. It's not real financial information, but it gives you an idea of sort of the types of valuable insights you might be able to unlock by using NBMetrics. So that's just one example. I'm going to flip this back to looking at the entire year here. Of course, you can customize your reports by adjusting any sort of time frame that you might want to be interested in looking at. And looking through the rest of these key metrics up here, we get some valuable insights just in terms of the number of donations, the average donation amount, and how that's down a little bit this year as well so far, total number of donors, number of first-time donors compared to repeat donors, average number of times somebody donates, and the average total given per donor over the course of the year. So we've got some other filters up here. So we can filter by tracking code. So for example, it's common practice for a lot of the folks we work with to use one or multiple tracking codes if they are selling tickets to an event in their nation. So if you want to filter out those transactions from everything else, you can easily find the tracking codes that you want to either just look at in isolation or remove from your reports. If you're interested in looking at transactions that are up to a certain dollar amount or over a certain dollar amount, you can filter by that as well. And we'll look at some more of these graphs here in a moment, but I also want to share that all of this information is easily exportable as a PDF. So if you want to share this report with stakeholders, with a board of directors, with the fundraising team, you can download that and share it via PDF as well.
Ryan, just a question that's come through that is relevant to what you're showing us. From Daniel, are these graphs generated on a going forward basis once you start up an instance of NBMetrics, or will it show all-time data in your nation from before that point?
Great question. It will show all data from like anything that's historically in your nation. So we can look back in time to look at anything that's, any and all transactions you've captured through your nation up until when you sign up, and then going forward as well, of course. So looking at this next chart and graph here, by default, we're looking at a breakdown of month by month. You can drill this up or down. If you want to go from, let's take a look at, this breaks it down by quarter instead, or you can go more granular as well and look at daily donations. Or if you were looking at a longer period, between over the course of a few years, you could drill up to looking at it, just totals by year. We've got a breakdown of number of donors by total amount given. So out of all the donations each donor has made over this period here, we've got 175 that gave a total of up to $200, 5 people that gave between 200 and 1,000, and then 4 people that gave over 1,000. So just a little bit of an informative breakdown of who, how much each of your donors are giving and sort of how that breaks down. We've got an automatically generated table here of who your top donors are for the given period. So if you change your period here, it'll show you who your top donors are in that period, how much they've donated in that period, the total number of donations, and what the average donation amount over that period was. And the neat thing about this table here is that it links right to your nation too. So you can see myself here, I can link through, and that takes me directly to that person's profile. In this case, it's me, their profile in your nation. So you can continue working with that there. Some of these graphs as well. So I mentioned you can download a PDF version of this. Some of these charts and tables and graphs, you can export this data as a CSV as well. So if you wanted to just look at a table of your top donors and use that information outside of NBMetrics or outside of NationBuilder, you can export some of these as CSVs as well. We've got a breakdown of the total donations in this period by tracking code. So if depending on how you're using tracking codes, this can provide valuable insights to which, where money is coming in from different campaigns or different sources. We've got a breakdown of online versus offline donations. How this data works is that it looks at each transaction record and looks to see if there's a page slug associated with that, indicating that it came in through a page on your NationBuilder website, a donation page. So you can see, okay, how many donations are coming in online from your website versus other ones that you might be either processing manually via the back end of your nation or importing those records from somewhere else. And then we've also got a breakdown of number of donors by state or province. So this can be useful maybe for event planning. If you are thinking about, hosting an event focusing on donor appreciation, this can help you decide, okay, where are my donors based and where I want to do that. So that is an overview of our first fundraising dashboard here. So we talked about how you can download a PDF of this. You can export some of these as CSVs. And then all of this is powered by a service called Google Looker Studio. And in the bottom right corner here, you also get a link to view this report outside of NBMetrics. So if you want to share this dashboard directly with outside stakeholders or board of directors, or somebody from your fundraising team that maybe doesn't have access to NBMetrics, you can share this private link with them directly so that they can access that outside of NBMetrics as well. Let's move on to our next dashboard here, which is our donor retention and recapture dashboard. So this dashboard gives us two tables. The first one is our live month table. So this is a table of everybody that gave last year, but hasn't given again yet this year. So this gives us a quick way to assess, okay, who are our most likely targets for recurring giving this year that haven't already given this year. So for example, I can see up at the top here, there's somebody that gave $45,000. In this case, it's a sample foundation. And they gave in November of last year. They only gave that one time. So this might be a prime candidate for reaching out to them to do some donor retention and see if they're interested in giving again. Again, we've got, just by default, it's sorted by the total that they donated last year. But you can sort this in different ways if you'd like, just clicking at the top here. And then you can also click through to view their profile in NationBuilder again. It also gives us some stats about our donor retention rate over here. So out of all the people that gave last year, 11 of them have given again this year. 262 people have not given again this year. So that tells us our donor retention rate is about 4%. And there's potentially a lot of work that we could do to reach out to these people that gave last year and see if they would be interested in giving again this year. Again, this one is also exportable as a CSV, so you can hover over top here and export that as well. And then we've got another similar table down here. So these are our side months. So these are people that gave some other year, but not this year. So that means that they gave some year, they didn't give last year, because then they'd be in this table up here, and they didn't give this year. So this is another segment of your audience that would potentially be primed to recapture them as donors because they gave at some point. It's been a while now, and but these are the folks that at least gave at some point, and you might want to reach out to them as well. So similar statistics over here as well. Out of all these folks, so that people that gave at some point, not last year, not this year, 2 of them so far have been recaptured, so they did give this year. And then there's another 156 that have not yet. And finally, we have a year-over-year fundraising heat map. This one might just take a second to load because there's a bit of data to crunch. Just give that a minute here. And while this is loading, I'll just pause for a moment to talk about who might be interested in using NBMetrics. So This is really just developed as a fundraising tool to unlock some of the data that is just presented in table form in your nation. So this is really great for anyone that's on a fundraising team or is focused on fundraising for your organization. This can be helpful for leaders of a team who might be needing to do reporting on fundraising and finances in your nation as well. So, that could be anyone from a leader in your team that might need to report to a board of directors, or perhaps someone on an accounting team for reporting purposes that have to do with compliance and regulations and all that kind of stuff. So there can be quite a few different use cases that this could be helpful. And our year-over-year fundraising heat map has loaded here as well. So we can see it breaks us down, back to the question about how far does the data go back? It'll go back as far as you have data in your nation. So in this case, we're going all the way back to 2014, and we get a year-over-year summary of fundraising for each year in terms of the total given, the number of donations, the number of donors, the average amount given, number of total donors versus first-time donors. And even right out of the gate here, we see maybe potentially some actionable insights. We can see that last year was a really big fundraising year. So we can think back to, okay, why was last year so successful compared to this year so far or the previous year? We can also see, okay, our average donation amount over the last 10 years has been dropping. So we can think, okay, what can we do to get that back up so that maybe we start asking small, incrementally smaller amounts to bump up that average donation amount going forward, so on and so forth. So that's a bit of a tour of NBMetrics. Let me just take a look at my notes here and make sure I'm not missing anything. I would encourage everyone to visit nbmetrics.com to learn more about it. Again, you can sign up for a free 1-month trial using the code NB webinar over here. The costs for the standard reporting, which includes everything we've looked at today, is $98 a month. It does include a capacity of up to 150,000 donation records. So I guess thinking back to the question about how far does the data go back, it's not really necessarily about how far it goes back, but there are limits to the total number of donation records that we can include in the standard plan. If you do have over 150,000 donation records in your nation, we can provide a quote for a custom plan. So just reach out to us and we can talk to you about that. We also have had, NBMetrics is still very, very new, but we're already getting some requests for some custom reports and custom data points. So if there's something that you think would be really valuable to your organization to add into these reports, let us know what you're thinking, and we'd be happy to provide an estimate on putting together a custom enterprise plan that could include, custom data points or other graphs looking at financial data, or potentially even not necessarily financial data too. We're talking to a client recently that was asking questions about doing some custom visualizations for paths. And that's something that we can access through NationBuilder's V2 API. So we're experimenting with that right at the moment. It is very new, so we don't have any a la carte add-ons at the moment, but depending on the interest over time, that may be something we do in the future as well. But for now, we're just taking custom requests on a case-by-case basis. Yeah, I think that is everything that I wanted to go through today.
Thanks, Ryan.